Nuno is at Wolves, he's more familiar with this type of setup.
Grinding out results with the team that can't score goals.
Well, and players that he probably never asked to sign. When I woke up this morning, all I could think about was you, everybody. Welcome to the Football Ramble. The West London teams march on in the Carabao. It's Wednesday, 20th of December. I'm Marcus Speller.
I'm Jim Campbell.
And I'm Andy Brassel.
Hello, everybody. Good to have you here on Wednesday. We are very close to Christmas. Oh, can you feel it, Jim?
I really can.
Yeah, I thought you can. Thanks to friend of the Ramble, Alan Odu, for sending us today's intro line. Of course, you can become a friend of the Ramble too by heading over to patreon.com/football ramble. I mean, what a way to do it. What a time of the year, Andy. It's the most wonderful time of the year to become a friend of the Ramble, don't you think?
It's the most wonderful time of the year to get your line in the start, I think.
Right. Well,
What
you've really plugged that
Really
well, haven't
sold
you?
No, the thing is, at the same time, I was just thinking of all the mischievous first lines that Ramble listeners. I think they're way too nice to you. Come on, Patreons.
Andy, we have
do us all a favour here.
Andy, we have a specific person employed to go through those intro lines with a giant sieve, because you wouldn't believe what some of those patrons want
Screening
me to
for
say.
Speller.
You are a very wholesome, innocent man as well, and some of them will slip through the sieve all the same. So to me, that just seems like more of a challenge. So get involved.
Well, remember, if you do want to get involved, then you'll also get access to an extra long edition of the Football Ramble every Wednesday, called Ramble Uncut, including today, of course. So hit that link in the show description to sign up now and give yourself a little Christmas treat. Now we move on to the Carabao Cup, where some teams got treats, other teams did not. Newcastle United are out, Andy. No treat for them. They drew 1-1 with Chelsea, then lost 4-2 on penalties. Oh,
They got a little treat off Buddy Ashile.
And Jim, it doesn't count, does it, when it's all said and done? All's bad that ends bad.
I don't think I've seen a defensive mistake in a while that made the defender look like they're in a three-legged race.
Andy, what's happening to Kieran Trippier?
It's really
This is
weird.
what this is about.
Yeah.
Talking Frank Spencerisms. Just everything that could go wrong. He's like Unlucky Alf at the moment, isn't he?
Such a reliable player over the years. Still one of the best fullbacks in the Premier League.
Yes.
To be fair, though, he's like 39. Newcastle have got 7 fit footballers at the club. He's playing a lot, and I don't think this is. I hope it's not a sign of him perhaps needing to go and live on a farm, as we discussed previously with Ashley Young. But I think it's just there's a lot of football in his legs, and he's getting to the point where you have to manage that a little bit more. So I see what you're terrified about. You're frightened this is going to happen in the Euros, and it's going to cost us. But hopefully, as the season goes on and Newcastle get some players back, he can have a little bit of a rest, nip off down the caravan for the weekend or whatever people of his age like to do with their spare time, and be fit for the summer.
Yeah,
Don't worry, mate.
When people talk about this too much football being played, it was Trippier is now the example to use.
Because he's so consistent and reliable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is what happens
to
our fine footballers in this country.
Yeah, he does look like he just needs a break from football almost, doesn't he?
I'd say so.
It's really strange. It's very, very uncharacteristic, because what he's been for Newcastle on and off the field since he's arrived, he's been arguably their most important signing.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And at the moment, he can't buy a good game, can he?
It's a shame, but look, it doesn't change how we feel about the man. It doesn't change what he's done for England over the years.
I think
more
it's
importantly,
put him up in the estimation of Mykhailo Mudryk.
Maybe. I mean, they were so close, Newcastle. Of course, they went 1-0 fairly early on with Callum Wilson, who channeling an enormous amount of George Weah there as he ran through. George Weah is often that great goal he scored for Milan, of course, where he ran from pretty much his own box right into the other one. There was one moment where he gets a bit lucky, whereas all the others, he absolutely skins the defenders, and often people go, he was a bit lucky. We can use this Wilson goal instead now, I feel. Do you know what I mean? You know, like when you got the Tony Yeboah volley against Liverpool, but you got some more contemporary examples now.
Is this your Christmas present to yourself, the England edition, when it's not really an England edition?
Quite possibly. But look, Wilson persevered. That's what you want to show young kids. Never stop trying. You play to the whistle, etc., etc. and he got his reward, Andy.
Yes, he did.
But it wouldn't be enough, of course. And Chelsea came back in the 92nd minute. Newcastle was so close. How agonising how they went out of Europe, bringing the PSG game into context, of course, Jim. And then this one, because straight to penalties.
Yeah.
And when you get an injury time equaliser like that, your tails are going to be up.
They'll be gutted because they're looking for their maiden trophy, aren't they? So obviously, maiden trophy in terms of the new ownership and stuff, and
in terms of a long time,
essentially. Yeah, but they want this era to have a bit of shine on it straight away, and that they will be absolutely gutted to have gone out here.
Yeah, and when you say this era, you are talking about from 1970 onwards. It's been a long time since they won a major trophy, Jim.
I'm actually not talking about that.
Right.
I genuinely mean since the takeover, because of course, 4 years ago it wouldn't have been realistic for Newcastle fans to be sitting there going, right, we're going to go on a run and we're going to have an era where we win a lot of things. It is now, and the hierarchy at the club, Eddie Howe, everyone there, the fans, they want something to hang their hats off of at the moment. So they will be disappointed, especially having got to the final last year. And I think the Carabao Cup is spoken down far too much. And if you look at the celebration at the end from the Chelsea fans, it's a competition they've won a lot, a club that have won absolutely everything in all kinds of mad circumstances that seem to absolutely thrive in chaos, which
and
is
in recent
part
times.
of it. But they was absolutely bouncing at the end.
Yeah,
Possibly part of it is because a penalty shootout is really fun, especially if you win it.
For sure.
But I do think it's a really underrated competition, actually.
It is, and also I think if you're in the position of Newcastle, it's a building block to something. Isn't it?
Absolutely.
If you look at Mourinho, if you look at City, they all took it super seriously. And it's quite funny though with Pochettino sort of in the pre-match press conference going, you know what? I don't think you can define whether you're an elite manager or not on trophies. It's really not that important. At the end, he's like, "Yeah, we definitely won it."
Well, he said,
"We
I don't
won it."
know which people are saying Mickey Mouse Cup. We're not feeling this way. I mean, you're right to talk about these teams. Manchester United won it last season, so not always a good thing. You see?
Is it the poison chalice?
Well, I remember.
Maybe they should rename it as that. See
Well,
how people approach it then.
Yeah, I mean, often there is chat about this idea of, you win the Carabao Cup, you can kick on, and as Vish said, it's not some gateway cup to other cups. Do you know what I mean?
You say that, but I think it, for Chelsea and for City, when they were in a similar situation to Newcastle, it was used as that. It's almost the herald of the building of a winning mentality.
Yeah,
isn't
totally.
It?
It depends how well set you are. I mean, the fact that United won the Carabao Cup and are an absolute shambles off the field. I mean, are two totally different things, aren't they? Really.
A warning from history, Andy. We can call that. But yes, Chelsea were absolutely delighted. I mean, a Chelsea fan ran onto the pitch to celebrate, and in the face of Martin Dubravka. Must be a brilliant bloke, Jim.
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Have you spoken to your mate this morning?
I haven't. I can't get in touch with him.
No, okay.
He's had so many phone calls of congratulation. I think it's actually crashed his phone.
Yeah, okay. Well, but
And he's in his cab now.
Yeah.
So.
He's such a knob. Oh dear. Yeah, but Newcastle, yeah, they're not having a good time at the moment. I mean, so they're now concentrating really to make sure they get back into Europe via finishing high in the Premier League, Andy. I mean, they've got FA Cup to come and all that.
That's it. I mean, the FA Cup takes on a different meaning now, doesn't it? Because if you think they went out in the third round to Sheffield Wednesday, who were in the third tier at the time, which would have been very deflating in a different circumstance. But where they were last season, because they were approaching Carabao Cup semis and they were well in the top four, there was a sense of, it's collateral damage. We can't be in everything. Whereas now, they'll actually be going after it. I think it'll be different because people do desperately want that trophy there. I feel like the top four is, I've heard people saying since they got knocked out by Milan, now they can concentrate on the top four. It's going to be incredibly hard to get in the top four this season.
It is. It's a huge
incredibly hard.
But the reason why I mentioned earlier about, from whatever it was when they won the Fairs Cup, I think was their last major trophy.
Yeah.
They haven't won a domestic trophy in England, I think, since about 1955 or 1953, something like that. The reason why I said that earlier about, from 1970 onwards is because, forget the new era and so on. These fans are desperate for a trophy. It reminds me slightly of England fans. Really. I mean, there's a lot of fans like this, but in that sense of we can't get there.
Yeah,
and even when they do get to a final, they go far. It's like, same old story, same old story. And I think there'll be a number of Newcastle fans who've woken up today thinking, I know that we're going places. I know it's been hugely improved, and just hold up. Do Google a picture of Mike Ashley to remember what it was like. Not that long ago.
They should put a statue of Mike Ashley outside the stadium.
As a reminder.
Yeah.
Well, when they win the trophy, they just bash it down. Right, we can get rid of that sort of thing. But it is that kind of same feeling. But they're in a very, very different place now because of all that questionable money they have. But Shay Given, former Newcastle United man, he's joined the bandwagon for David De Gea. Have you seen this? He wants Newcastle United to get David De Gea involved because obviously Nick Pope's been injured for a long time and so on. I love it. Someone's got to sign him, surely, sooner or later.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it?
Is it that strange?
He's 33,
so
top-level goalkeeper. You would think like he would find a club.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant it's strange that people wanted him. Keep him out.
Yeah, I'm just sort of baffled by it. I think maybe his cryptic tweets are part of it. It's so weird.
Is football controlled that tightly that you need to? This guy's a bit of a mad head on Twitter.
Well, he's a goalkeeper, isn't he? They're all bloody mad, aren't they? What are they like?
What are they like? What do you reckon? I mean, Andy,
I think
what you're hearing through the old
I think
grapevine.
The difficulty with De Gea is straight away, none of the clubs of the sort of level that his previous wages and quality imply were really looking for a goalkeeper. Mm-hmm. And of course, you've got to get on board with the fact that what is expected of a goalkeeper has changed. I mean, it's a discussion they're having at PSG at the moment because they want to play out from the back, obviously, because it's Luis Enrique's team. And Donnarumma cannot do that. Like, he cannot do that. He's not like he needs to get better at it. He will never get to the level that will make him a suitable goalkeeper for them. And I think a lot of people are looking at De Gea in that way. I think Donnarumma might end up in the De Gea spot at some point.
Ooh. What, sitting in Manchester in your house playing computer games?
Yeah, having a lovely time doing weird tweets.
Those two together, imagine if they're live streaming those two. They earn a fortune. You'd tune in, wouldn't you, Andy?
I think they probably earn more as professional footballers, though, wouldn't they?
Yes, well, but it seems like they won't. But if they won't lower the wages, Jim.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? I find that extraordinary. My wage demands are 150 grand a week. You're older. You're down on your luck. What about 75 grand a week? No, I've told you
Not
what I want.
Chance, yeah.
Okay, you won't get anything then? No. Okay, fine. Doesn't understand how it works.
It's a short career. It's getting shorter.
Yeah. Well, it's a non-existent career right now. But speaking of Shay Given, did you see on the BBC he revealed that when he was playing for Newcastle United, Michael Owen once turned up for training in a helicopter.
Again, what is he like?
Now, you see, I'm going to defend little Mickey Owen here because
England's little mad Mickey Owen.
When Carlo Ancelotti turned up to AC Milan in a helicopter when he was obviously taking training and so on, then everyone goes, "Oh yeah, big Carlo, that's great
That's
behaviour."
because he looks amazing in aviators. You can't say the same thing about Michael Owen. Yeah, exactly.
Michael Owen can drive, or pilot rather, helicopters.
I guess the thing I would say in defence of Michael Owen, if you look at when he signed for Newcastle in the first place, he arrives at Freddie Shepherd's house in a helicopter, and that's where you realise where Freddie Shepherd was at exactly, because they say, "Oh, he's landing at his house," and you're thinking, isn't that a stately home or something? Look at the bloody size of it. And presumably they've landed and he's gone, "Oh, fuck it, Michael, keep the helicopter."
Yeah, maybe. I just like the fact that he was already had his boots and his kit on, and he just went, "Oh, lads," and went straight on to training.
The story was that they were all going to get fined if they were late to training, weren't they? And Michael Owen's looking like he's going to miss it, and then he turns up in a helicopter. And it's like,
lands next to the training pitch.
Merry Christmas, lads, or whatever it was, because it's around Christmas.
I think that's quite funny.
I mean, it is quite funny. Isn't
also,
it?
with Keegan,
also like, you know,
with Keegan, it's kind of Newcastle tradition, isn't
leaving the pitch in a helicopter.
Yeah,
it's huge. It's massively big time, even in the context of footballers.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to me that Souness didn't fine him anyway, just for being too flat.
Yeah, but Souness has
gone. Been funny.
I think Souness would have been fuming because he'd have gone, "He's done me there."
Yeah,
like I can't fine him for anything.
It'd have put a massive tackle on him in training.
Definitely, that's why he was out for so long.
Yeah, you know? so many times. That's probably what it was, wasn't it? Just Souness going, "Oh fuck, I can't help myself." I know we really need him, but oh, God.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Newcastle, they're out the cup and Chelsea march on. The good news for Newcastle is that the North East is still represented in the League Cup. Of course, Middlesbrough beat Port Vale 3-0, so they can all get behind them.
They'll be one of their feeder clubs before long, won't they? So.
That makes me feel quite sad. That would have been a great semi-final, wouldn't it? Can you imagine if Newcastle, because they've got Sunderland in the FA Cup as well, haven't they?
Yes, they do.
Imagine that and going straight into... Talking of a way to derail your season, actually, that would have been quite challenging, wouldn't it?
Very challenging. Well, Middlesbrough themselves have reached the League Cup semi-final for the first time since they won the tournament in 2004. They've got pedigree.
They do.
I mean, it's a favourable draw, and Michael Carrick was in no illusions about that. But he said, you've got to take your opportunities, and didn't they, with that 3-0 victory?
I'm sad for Port Vale because Port Vale have a player called Oliver Arblaster, as we know, and I just want that guy to have the best life possible with a name like that. Thus concludes my analysis of that.
Yeah, I think he already does.
Maybe.
Well, it has been reported with regards to Port Vale that Phil the Power Taylor and Robbie Williams want to buy the club.
Yeah, I saw this.
Odd duo.
Very enjoyably odd duo. But Phil Taylor had some really interesting things to say about that. He said, "Me and Robbie are good friends. His dad is like my second dad, Peter is. And TalkSport mentioned that Robbie was interested in investing into Port Vale. And if that's true, would I be interested?" I said, "Well, yeah, I think so. But we'd have to see what it is and how much they want and stuff like that. But I've heard nothing from Robbie. So, no, I think it's just a rumour. I haven't spoken to him." But, well, then it's not happening, is it? He's not. Is he your manager or like? Why don't you know?
It's been reported, though, Jim.
Yeah, so maybe.
Yeah, I saw them in a room together. Right, it's been reported that they're going to do this.
Am I spending all my money, am I?
Yeah,
you have to ask Robbie. He deals with all that stuff.
I love that. The fact that, like, a radio station will phone him up and go, "How are you getting on with it?" Yeah, well, I will need to speak to Robbie to see if he's interested. Oh, right, okay. We've jumped in far too early with this.
The idea that you read something in the paper and you think, that's a good idea. Maybe I'll do that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that. It's a bit like when Stevan Jovetic, talking of out-of-work footballers, when he'd run out of contract and he was somewhere in the Côte d'Azur on a sunbed with his girlfriend, and she was going, "Well, where do you want to play next season?" He goes, "Oh, I quite fancy Monaco." And literally 20 minutes later, the phone rings and his agent goes, "Oh, Monaco want to sign you."
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Amazing.
Yeah. What a slacker.
Like Noel Edmonds. Putting it out there into the universe, asking the universe and getting it to deliver.
And having one massive house party as well, over and over again, live on television.
Yes, and massively misinterpreting your own privilege as well.
If I was a Port Vale fan, I would think, I don't want Robbie Williams signing because he's going to have a clause in that there somewhere of, I can get the last 10 minutes whenever I want kind of thing.
Yeah, probs.
Recently seen in a documentary looking back over his life from his bed in his pants. That's not what you want. No. It's just not what you want in charge of your club.
It's not. Middlesbrough could face Fulham in the semi-final.
Oh, you've been saving Fulham for pudding.
There we are, Andy. Yes, because Fulham beat Everton 7-6 on penalties after a 1-1 draw. Onana had the chance to win it. It was a poor penalty, ultimately.
Yeah, he's knocked about 10 million quid off his value there, isn't he? I think.
Yeah, I thought this was a bit harsh. It was described by Sky Sports. Was this the worst penalty you've ever seen?
Near.
It's no. Firstly, he got it on target. Okay,
yeah.
So it's not the worst penalty.
No,
because in another day, Leno might have gone the other way or something. I understand he's not hit it that hard, and it was a comfortable one.
He's
for the keeper.
risked. I think he's tried to sort of like give Leno the eyes and send him the wrong way, and he just hasn't.
Yeah,
and that makes it look worse than it was.
I mean, what was he? The 15th taker out of 16.
It hardly screams specialist, does it?
Yeah, no, he would have been the 15th. It's far down.
Yeah.
The 15th penalty.
Yeah.
I
know what you mean. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Indeed, he's not a specialist. But Leno saved it, and it was an important save because it was match point. It was match point, but the former Arsenal man saved the day for Fulham. Quite frankly,
you're welcome.
Thank you. You're not getting him back. It was a dull game.
We don't need him back.
I think
we don't need a third goalkeeper in there.
He's better than the two you've got.
No, exactly.
It was a dull game, this one. Just get it done. This is why you go straight to penalties after 90 minutes.
Yes.
For games like this, it wasn't good.
All the chances happened in the league game. They'd expired all their chances.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Everton were probably the better side, and it was on top and they were in control. But when it got to full time, I remember being a bit gutted because obviously Everton scored fairly late on. And I was like, another half an hour. Oh, penalties. We got a chance. Fulham have got a chance. I mean, even in the penalty shootout, Pickford got close to quite a lot of them. He would probably be disappointed that maybe he didn't save one or two more. I'm not blaming him, but, when a goalkeeper gets a bit of an arm on it or a hand or whatever. But Fulham squeeze into that semi-final. Their last domestic semi-final was in 2002 when they lost to Chelsea in the FA Cup semi-final.
Never won a trophy, Fulham, have they? It'd be absolutely
Not a major one, Jim.
What are the minor ones? Do you know?
The Championship
Sampo.
and the playoffs.
Sure.
Come
I
on.
see. Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah, Intertoto.
Have they won that?
Yes, although they did it in a weird way. I think 3 teams won it that summer.
It tells you everything you need to know
about that
I don't care
competition.
how 3 teams can win a competition.
Yeah, it was something stupid like that. If you think the Nations League's a bit tricky to get your head round, and then the Club World Cup in 2025 and all this kind of stuff, stay well away from the Intertoto.
They've just got the little metal hat from the trophy in the trophy cabinet, and the other 2 teams have got a handle each.
Exactly. Yeah. I can't even be bothered to try and
I
explain
love the thought of Fulham winning a major trophy.
I do.
The way that I bet you do, but I think the way that football is nowadays, any situation where you can have a different team win something, it sort of makes you believe, doesn't it?
It does.
It's quite exciting. Also, I think if you look at the work that Marco Silva has done there, I know he's not everyone's cup of tea when he's in front of a camera.
Well, it's my cup of tea,
let's say. Not everyone's cup of tea. But I think the work that he's done there, I know we talked at the beginning about, and Pochettino talked about, trophies aren't everything. Okay, well, trophies aren't everything in terms of a definition of your work. But having said that, I feel it would be edging towards an appropriate recognition, widespread recognition of the work that he's done, because I think people can forget what an incredible job he's done.
I totally agree with you. I think that trophies aren't everything. Okay, I get that. Let's take the much loved Marcelo Bielsa. Hasn't won that many major trophies in his time.
Yeah, no.
But hugely influential man in football. Hugely admired and appreciated. But trophies are important. It's not like awards. They're not musicians. You know what I mean? Well, I've never won a Brit Award, but that kind of thing. It's like, no, these aren't voted by people. Your work does come to fruition often with a trophy win. So I think that one can be a bit too blasé. But if Marco Silva, he would go down as one of the greatest Fulham managers of all time.
Yeah,
and I know people might think, well, there's not too many in that.
If he's
pot,
the first one to win a trophy.
Well, yeah, one could. That's what they said about David Moyes at West Ham.
Yeah, of course.
Last season, when they were looking over their shoulder for a lot of last season in terms of relegation, people were thinking, is he going to keep his job? He wins that trophy, and I think one of the
as they are saying now.
Yeah, exactly. And
it totally made everyone forget how rancid they were for the largest part of last season.
Was it not Declan Rice? I know I love Declan Rice. He's very excitable when the microphone's in front of his face. Yeah. But did he not say something like, well, he has to go down as like the greatest West Ham manager of all time or something?
Yeah, he did in the aftermath.
But there is an argument solely because of that trophy, and that's what trophies can do.
It is surprising, isn't it, that Fulham haven't won one? They feel like a team that would have won one a long time ago. There have some great players there as well, like Bobby Moore, George Best, Steed Malbranck, Tony Blair's favourite player.
That's right.
There's a rich history there.
Yeah, Best was past his best at the time. But,
Indeed.
Bobby Moore, obviously, I've mentioned it before, they got to an FA Cup final against West Ham in the 70s and they lost. But, Fulham, you have to remember, they were actually not a top-flight club for a long, long time.
Yeah.
It's slightly similar to Brighton in that regard. So Brighton have had a longer history.
Exactly. First
Brighton's been more spectacular.
First time I went to the Cottage, they were playing Bury in the Old Fourth Division.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. And we thank Mohammed Al-Fayed's money for rest in peace. Fulham do take on Burnley on Saturday back at the Cottage. Hopefully the Burnley fans make it on time because the aforementioned West Ham, some of their fans were travelling to the game at Craven Cottage when they were beaten 5-0 by boat and were delayed after their boat crashed into Hammersmith Bridge.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this. Apparently it's a bit of a tradition, isn't it, that some of these West Ham fans take this specific boat.
Yep.
From east to west.
Yeah. But it's a long way.
I'm amazed the boat's allowed if it can't get onto the bridge. How is that?
So,
or did they crash into the middle of it?
Yeah,
and what happens is Knowlesy back.
Yeah.
I'm your captain now.
Why is Moyes not captain in the boat? Clearly
because they were late,
the
Andy.
Obvious choice.
Yeah.
Maybe he was. They lost 5-0. Clearly thoughts were elsewhere.
Moyes belting across the pitch during the game. No, David, round the pitch. So I don't know. Hopefully, So if you're going to take the boat, make sure if you get to Hammersmith Bridge, turn around beforehand.
Look,
it's better than into the bridge.
No, exactly.
It's better than ending up at Brentford by accident.
Mind you, though, if maybe it was the council because Hammersmith Bridge is shut at the moment. Everybody, again, localised chat. It's an absolute. It is a disgrace what's going on there. It's a beautiful old bridge. They can't obviously get rid of it. But had they have knocked that bridge down, it would have been cultural vandalism. But my goodness, it would have been a massive favour for the local council. Let's go for a break.
Well, Neil Warnock here. I just want to thank everybody that keep viewing my whatever it is on Twitter.
Welcome back to the Football Ramble, everybody. Oh, we start with the sad news that Nottingham Forest have sacked Steve Cooper. This was on the cards, of course, but it doesn't soften the blow for a lot of Forest fans. They love the man, and rightly so. Everybody who talks about Steve Cooper talks about him in glowing terms, and a lot of people saying he will walk into another job. He won't be out of work soon, unless he, of course, chooses to. But a highly rated, much-loved manager of Nottingham Forest who gave them a couple of brilliant seasons. And, I mean, there was some vox pops done by BBC East Midlands, and one Forest fan compared Cooper leaving to almost like a death of a family member. I mean, this is what they think.
When you go to a Forest home game, the reaction when he comes out is extraordinary. Is absolutely extraordinary. And the way, some fans say that Forest fans, a lot of Forest fans, have not connected with a coach like they've connected with Cooper since Brian Clough. Yeah. There cannot be a bigger compliment than that. Remember when he took charge...
They are forgetting Frankie Clark, by the way, but yes, I take the point.
No, but we're not talking about just success. We're talking about an actual connection in the stadium. So that's something that's a bit different, I think. And I think when you look at the point at which he took over, when they're bottom of the Championship, they've almost lost hope of coming back up. So everything he did... Everything he understood about what the fans needed, what the fans wanted in terms of hope, I think is really important. Now, there are some Forest fans who'll say, well, look, he got to spend a shitload of money. Well, I mean, that's obviously incorrect because he didn't get to spend a shitload of money.
Yes.
But he had a shitload of money spent on the team, and they've not really gone anywhere. I think, given the chaotic nature of the recruitment, that he's managed to find periods of clarity and he's managed to keep them in the top flight is actually remarkable. Although the current run, I think it's amazing that Marinakis kind of accepted it for that long. Well, not accepted it, but let it play out for that long.
One win in 13, isn't it? It hasn't been a good run. But I mean, Evangelos Marinakis is clearly a difficult sort of character, and there were reports that they were in advanced talks to have Nuno Espirito Santo come in and take charge before Cooper had even been sacked.
Yeah, I mean, that has been officially announced now.
I mean, that happens in every job,
absolutely it does,
doesn't it?
But this has been hanging over Cooper for a long time because Marinakis clearly gets itchy feet. And I mean, the rumours are that he has said somewhere or other that he wants a top 10 finish this season, which is highly ambitious to the point where you might say it's a little bit unreasonable to expect. And I think, actually... given that this has been hanging over Cooper for so long, this is probably the best thing for him at this point. It might sound mad to think it's a good thing for someone to be sacked in circumstances like this, especially at a place where he's so beloved. We know he's a very, very good manager. We can see that. He will get another job.
His stock is still pretty high, isn't it?
As you say, yeah. So I think, actually... it's probably necessary at this point because this situation just seemed untenable. Right. If you're working for a chairman who's so kind of almost predictably unpredictable, it's always going to go this way.
Yeah, I'm in a weird way. I'm glad for Cooper.
Yeah,
in a sense, everyone thinks he's a thoroughly decent bloke.
The legend preserves.
Yes,
he'll have his pick of. You would think in the next 2 to 3 months there will be a load of different Premier League jobs that open up for him. I would be amazed if he's not managing another Premier League club who need a saviour before the end of this season.
Andy, might I suggest something?
Please do.
We think this would be Southgate's last tournament for England. Is it ridiculous for the FA to say to him, oi, just hang around for a moment because you've managed England under 16, 17. I know he's Welsh before everybody starts shouting that.
He's worked with England before.
No, he really does. And he knows the setup and so on. I mean, he may not want this. I mean, he's still a young manager and whatnot. But from the FA point of view, would you not be saying, come on, try and open a dialogue with him?
It's interesting, and I think it's interesting when you look at.
May not be good for Cooper. May not be interested, and he may think, no, I'm club footballer.
I don't think it's an unreasonable shout by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's quite a sensible, logical one. And wherever England go after Southgate, it needs to be that, because it's like when you were talking about Roberto Martinez the other week. I think that's an interesting suggestion as well. I find it amazing.
When he wins the Euros with Portugal, he'll be like, yeah, no, I'm all right, lads.
That's pay rise.
That's
pay rise coming to England, isn't it? But I think when you look at that, when people, a lot of the people who criticise Southgate would love a huge name to come in. It's like, hello, Capello.
Yeah.
Just the biggest name in international football is almost always not the right solution.
Yeah,
I think
people have
Cooper would be a big leap, though, wouldn't it? I know he's worked in the setup before, but coming from being sacked by Forest to going straight to England would be big. And I know Southgate hadn't had success at club level as well. The country would absolutely lose its mind if Steve Cooper replaced him.
I disagree with you totally.
Whether it's a good appointment or not.
What candidate would not make the country lose its mind? Because like Roberto Martinez, we talked about him just now. He's proven himself a really good international coach. He already did a really good job with Belgium. People would lose their shit if he got it.
True.
This is true. I mean, the country is ready to lose its mind at any one point. It enjoys to lose its mind. Even when it's having a good time, it's sticking flares up its arse.
Yeah, but, I can't believe. I can't believe. I know it's my fault. But we're going to have to bring it back to club football. Everyone's thinking, what is happening here? But it's all my fault, everybody. So please forgive me.
As long as Nuno gets the Forest job, he can't get the England job. Well, I think that's the point to make, isn't
Nuno
it?
has been unveiled. It's actually happened. So yes, he will take the job. So we speak very highly of Cooper. A lot of Forest fans do. He'll be absolutely fine, and he'll go on to do great things, as one Forest fan said in those Vox Pops, of course. But it is Nuno Espirito Santo's job now.
He's got work to do because not just because Forest are in trouble, but because of the perception. And, perception is always bigger than reality.
Perhaps one of the reasons why he wanted to come back to the Premier League. I mean, he was out of work and obviously enjoyed his time. He did an exceptional job at Wolves. We don't forget. Did. At Spurs, it was a bit of a funny one.
It was a bad fit.
It was total miscasting. Exactly.
Yeah, so again, you've got to be careful here because, I mean, even the aforementioned Brian Clough, he had a shocker at Leeds. It's fair to say he bounced back at Forest. So sometimes we can say, oh, well, that manager did very badly because we think we're playing fantasy football. Yeah. It's totally different circumstances and so on and so forth. So I don't think this is a shocking appointment. I know people say, oh, it's a sideways step, or you never know. I don't think it's ridiculous. It doesn't mean that George Mendes has now got a foothold back in the Premier League, which he'll bloody love. But Santo...
I mean, the last thing they need to do is make a load of transfers in January, but they're going to make a load of transfers in January.
Yeah, I mean, we should say that since that Spurs sacking, he did win the Saudi Pro League.
Yeah. And they really need a centre forward at the moment. I feel pretty sure he won't be bringing Karim Benzema with him.
He was sacked this season, 12 games.
Partly because he didn't get along at all with Karim Benzema.
And a poor run of results as well. Yeah. But he has got that Saudi Pro League title, so that itch has been scratched. But I mean, so what about the argument to say that Marinakis, we say that, tricky customer and well, he's not the customer, he's the owner. But some would say, well, he's put a lot of money into the club.
Yeah.
Something like 300 million over the last few seasons, which for a club like Forest is huge. I suppose would the argument be, well, you can put a lot of money in, but doesn't mean to say it was done wisely or particularly effectively.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all sad for Cooper, aren't we? But I don't think it's the most outrageous sacking you're ever going to see, because if you look at that, that sequence of one win in 13, it suggests only one thing. And
they are 17th, just 5 points above Luton Town and 18th, and Luton have got a game in hand. And we've spoken about Luton, Burnley and Sheffield United have been particularly poor this season, although there's been a couple of little results in there.
Yeah. But talking of the recruitment, right, how have they spent that much money? And this is nothing to do with Cooper, by the way. The recruitment is nothing to do with him. How have they spent that much money and Taiwo Awoniyi gets injured and all of a sudden they're completely screwed?
Yeah, I mean, I think that
I know centre forwards are expensive, but I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, I think that.
And that is going to be a problem for Nuno until they get to January.
Nuno is at Wolves, he's more familiar with this type of setup.
Grinding out results with a team that can't score goals.
Well, and players that he probably never asked to sign.
Yeah.
Whereas
politically it's a fit, isn't it?
Yeah, and also he's got a lot more experience because I mean, Cooper obviously did he nearly got Swansea promoted, but then he left due to mutual consent, and then he was at Forest. So again, still a young manager.
And he had Jimenez as well at Wolves. He was banging them in at the time, so that kind of papered a lot
in the first
it?
part of it. Yeah,
exactly. Well, Nuno's the man, and Steve Cooper is a free agent, so we shall see where he ends up next. Chaps, the Champions League round of 16 was drawn on Monday. Manchester City will play FC Copenhagen, and Arsenal will play Porto. I feel like Arsenal-Porto is a regular fixture.
Yes.
In European football. Manchester City will be very aware of FC Copenhagen because those boys from the Danish capital know how to put teams from Manchester to the sword.
I think City are going to welcome Copenhagen with open arms, aren't they? going to go, oh, that was really funny what you did there.
Yeah.
Well done. Silly little mugs. Now let's smash you.
8-0 in aggregate.
Yeah. It would be. It's the dream draw for them for a number of reasons, isn't it?
Yeah, well, two specifically. One, because in Manchester City, it's pretty straightforward. No disrespect to FC Copenhagen, but Manchester City are Manchester City. And also, they get to go, you see, Man United. And also, Pep will be delighted because, again, it's another argument for him to present to Julia Roberts to support his team rather than Manchester United.
Absolutely.
I think is the big picture down at the Etihad.
Copenhagen deserved to finish second in that group. Like, they didn't steal it. They were definitely the second best team in that group. They were great twice against Bayern.
Mm-hmm.
They were great twice against Galatasaray. And they were really good twice against Manchester United. And, the results could have been even better on the performances that they had. They recruit well. They've got a good mix of youth and experience. Of course, there's a huge gulf between them and Manchester City. The biggest problem for Copenhagen is they're not playing now Manchester City. They're playing February Manchester City.
Yeah.
That's the big problem.
We've looked at them do this amazing thing in the group. As professional podcasters, we've just gone, no, 8-0. No, just ignored it. Ignored it altogether. But you're right. The February Man City thing is going to be a big issue.
It is a plum draw for Man City. There's no two ways about it.
For me, the most exciting thing about this Porto Arsenal thing is I got to retweet the Samir Nasri goal at the Emirates again. That's one of my favourite Champions League goals.
I can't remember it.
He gets it. It's in the 5-0 over Porto, and he gets it at the touchline. And if you're told at the beginning of the video, so if you've not seen it, he's going to score from it. It's like there's no way he can score from there. He can't score an outrageous shot from there. He's got to dribble around about 5 players, and he does it in such an incredible. But it's quite understated because of the way that Nasri plays. He's this ultimate street baller. You can imagine him being incredible in cage football in your 5-a-side team. And that goal, I was there at the Emirates that night, and it didn't quite register how good it was until I saw it at home. You thought, oh yeah, that's a nice goal. And then you work out when you see the video where he picks it up, you're like, what the fuck? How did he do that?
Yeah.
He was so unbelievably talented.
He was a good player.
Every time I see that goal, it gets better.
Former tenant of Phil Neville, of course. That's why I remember him.
Yes.
Nicholas Bentner scored a hat-trick in that game as well, in the 5-0.
They should have a banner. They should have a banner taunting the away fans to remind them of that. Are you confident though? I mean, FC Porto are obviously a tricky opponent, as they always are.
Tricky's the right word, yeah. The noise coming out of the club, but which I mean statements. It mentions that Porto play in the Champions League every year, so therefore they're an opponent you have to be wary of, an opponent you have to respect, and I think that's absolutely right. That's the correct approach to it, because on paper, obviously Arsenal are the favourites here, but this is an inexperienced team that have come through a pretty cosy group, so there is potentially a shock here if Porto are canny and wily about it, and they've obviously got that about them. So they had a pretty good group stage as well. They scored a lot of goals, so I don't think this is quite the sort of the buy that some people are presenting it.
I don't think it's
going to have to. It's going to be a tough couple of games, I think. But I am confident that Arsenal can get through it.
Okay. And very, very quickly, Andy, can Royal Society, aka Real Sociedad, beat Paris Saint-Germain?
They could do.
Good.
I think it's interesting because everyone in France thinks, this is the best draw ever.
Yeah,
they're totally underestimating them already.
Love it. That's what I thought. That's what I wanted you to say. Damn it all, and that's made my Christmas. Okay, so Manchester City, yes, they are obviously playing FC Copenhagen, but they're going for silverware all over the gaff because last night they beat Urara Red Diamonds to give them their full title. 3-0 to reach the final of the Club World Cup. Pep called the final a once-in-our-lifetime opportunity. And he's right, because...
They've never been in it before.
Well, they've never been in it before, because they've never won the Champions League. You have to win the Champions League to get into this cup. Thus, it is a superior competition.
Yeah, it is.
The Confederations Cup is a superior competition to the World Cup.
This is the real quiz. This is the ultimate real quiz.
It is. And we always think, the European sides, they not always... They don't always win it, as Liverpool know. I think Chelsea may have lost a final before.
It is a fascinating competition in its current format, isn't it? Because in South America, it is, by all accounts, a big deal, where they do actually care about it.
Massive
Whereas
deal.
here, we see it as a sort of glorified friendly tournament.
And
like a pre-season tournament that happens in the season.
Exactly.
And there's the European privilege. Everybody.
Indeed, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's genuinely the case, isn't it? Of course it is.
Yeah, like Vish was talking about it on Monday, as if City are going away for a little holiday and having a little rest. That's not a criticism of Vish. I think a lot of people share that opinion.
If you were going to criticise Vish, what would you say?
Save that for uncut.
Yeah, I was going to say. Don't think you can say that on the mic.
Keep listening.
Yeah.
But I think it's a huge thing. It's a huge thing for Manchester City in terms of, the fact is they are respected, but they're not quite loved across the world. They're not a Manchester United. They're not a Liverpool. They're not an Arsenal yet, even. And if they want to keep building in that direction, something like this is really important. Of course, the Club World Cup becomes something else afterwards. But for Guardiola, this will be a massive, massive
Well, he won it with Barcelona, of
Yeah.
course.
Yes.
I mean, part of the culture that they've instilled is winning, isn't it? If you win a trophy, you try and win it. And they will absolutely want to win this. Of course they will. And actually, you know what? They've been stuttering a little bit in the league by their standards. And in general, actually, I think it's not an unreasonable term to level at them. Winning a trophy that no one else has even got access to is going to be a really good way to correct that.
I agree. To like have a break from the Premier League at the moment. And like you guys were saying on Monday, it's really hard to work out why they're not winning at the moment, because you were comparing it to the first half of last season and how they started motoring after Christmas. I think that's really possible that they go and
there
do
was
that
tactical
again.
reasons probably for that with Haaland and how they were trying to sort of fit him in, even though he was scoring a lot of goals.
Yeah, I mean, weirdly, even though the results were probably better, it was definitely more clunky. I mean, I've seen quite a lot of City this season, and the performances and the results don't entirely correlate. I think it's easy to focus on that game at Aston Villa where they got outclassed because it's just so unusual to see them, get properly beaten and be the deserved losers of a team. But I think if you take segments of their various games, they have been at their best for quite a lot of those games. The results are definitely coming. There's no doubt about that. But they didn't have the sort of fluidity that they've had in some of these games in the first half of last season, probably for that reason you suggested.
The margins seem to be going against them at the moment, don't they? And they're missing two of the best players in the world. So, they are players where just they score goals like lightning strikes because of that combination and because of the various combinations that De Bruyne and Haaland allow you to have. So when those two are back, I think we'll see the City that we all know and fear and are bored to tears by.
If Manchester City do win the Club World Cup, of course, then they will be officially the best team in the world, and then
they become our representation in space.
Yeah, and also
where they'll be shot.
Even
though do they get shot into space? Are you going to give me some good news?
By ray guns. We don't know the effects of the ray guns yet,
right?
But
will it make Erling Haaland even bigger?
I think the ray guns can strip you of previous silverware. I don't know, but we'll see what happens.
How many are there?
About 115 of them. But if they do manage to do it, then I think their supporters should be the only ones, even though this is still not quite accurate, but that droning chant that so many fans sing about, by far the greatest team the world has ever seen.
My own team sing it.
Yeah, and you sing it regularly, Jim. So
it's only fun if you're a League Two team, really, that chant.
Speaking of which, AFC Wimbledon got a big win last night, didn't they?
10 changes and went and won 5-2 away at League One leaders Portsmouth.
Luke Moore's Portsmouth.
Yeah, Luke Moore's Portsmouth.
Yeah, who was given the reins for the night. Hence, they lost 5-2. Tonight, Liverpool play West Ham, of course. Myself and Luke are bringing you a brand new Ramble Reacts after this one, so do stay tuned. Of course, we've got the draw for the Carabao Cup semi-finals. Two-legged affairs.
Yeah.
Don't know whether I'm happy about that or not. In fact, I'm not happy about it because Fulham will get one of these or Chelsea. And if you play a good team over two legs, it's a bigger sample size for you to be proved that you're not a better team.
It's true. Yeah.
So you want that one off.
Very,
you
very
want the
hard to
penalties
glance
after
it.
90 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, we shall see how it pans out.
They should do penalties at the end of the first leg if it's a draw and count it towards the overall score.
If it means the smaller teams are more likely to win, then fine. Although, going on this, Fulham will get Middlesbrough and then get beaten over two legs. But yes, so having won the Europa League last year, West Ham, of course, trying to win their first domestic trophy since 1980. This is so they haven't won a domestic trophy for a while. They won a trophy last year. Middlesbrough, not for a while. Fulham, never. And then you've got Liverpool and Chelsea still in the draw. So, let's all get behind my boys. A West Ham supporting parrot named Arnie could be the difference tonight because Arnie's gone viral for singing West Ham songs. We've got a little clip of it now.
I'm going to watch football. You're going to watch football? Football's finished. going for fire, and you say you're going.
Now, I know that sounded like a drunken Cockney, but one of those voices was a parrot, I assure you.
So that's Arnie, the African grey. African grey parrots can they can learn up to 1,000 words, I think. They're very, very smart.
And
very good mimics.
reiterate them in the style of a toothless old man.
Absolutely. He sounds like a little Cockney, doesn't he? His accent is the best thing about it. And also I love that he censors himself. I don't quite know why that's happened. He's an old boy with some values.
Yeah,
he doesn't like to swear, but he does want to sing along. He wants to join in.
Exactly. I thought I was half expecting Arnie to just go, "Do you want some? Do you want some?" Oh dear.
What is the point of having a parrot that can't swear?
Yeah.
You'd take it back to the pet shop, wouldn't you?
My dad used to go to a pub where they had a mynah bird at the entrance.
Oh,
in a
they're
little
amazing.
cage.
Aren't
Yeah,
they?
they're
They can do sound effects and everything.
magnificent creatures. And the barman, not the owner of the pub had trained it. This is a bit counterproductive, of course, but it amused people. They kept coming back. It trained this mynah bird to tell people to fuck off when they walked into the pub. It's like, who said that? What? A lot of fights, a lot of friendly fire in that pub. But West Ham though, they're away to Liverpool tonight. Andy, do you give West Ham a chance here?
Yes, because we don't know what team Liverpool are going to pick, and I don't feel that Liverpool are in a great position considering how well they've played this season. Because I said it earlier in the season, but I just feel that Liverpool can be a lot better than they currently are. I mean, if we talk about City accelerating in the second half of the season, if Liverpool get it together and start playing at sort of 90% of what they can do, right, okay, it's going to be a real title race, and they're in the mix for everything. But I think if you're going to play Liverpool, you want to play them now, I would say.
Wow, Liverpool at Anfield, it's tough. I mean,
it is, of course.
My message to them, Jim Campbell, would be learn from Manchester United. Stink the place out, play for those penalties. A West Ham penalty win after a stodgy 0-0.
That would be pretty funny, wouldn't it?
I mean, I think that if you look at Liverpool this season, they're obviously going for the league. They could win a quadruple this season. It wouldn't be the quadruple, of course, as they were so close to doing last time round. But Europa League is really theirs to lose. That's how highly we rate them.
I think you can say that about this competition as well, though.
Well, yeah, indeed. So even before this game is played, they are the favourites.
Yeah.
Obviously they're not there yet, but they are the favourites for this competition. Europa League, when I say it's theirs to lose, obviously it's a bit over the top, but basically, I think they're the best team in that competition, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree.
Yeah.
They're going well in the league, the FA Cup's still to come. I mean, it could be almost like a vintage Jurgen Klopp season after a start that suggested it wouldn't be.
Well, this is the thing with Liverpool, isn't it? This is a new cycle under Klopp in a way that you rarely see in top-level football now. And it's almost like trying to get your first trophy.
Yes.
In terms of having a second really good team, a second really good era. I know certain key players are still there, and obviously someone like players like Alexander-Arnold were very young in that first great round. But I really think they're going to see it like that. It's almost like a new Doctor Who sort of generation, but like good.
He's absolutely Sir Alex Ferguson English shit at the moment.
Yeah, totally. He will want this trophy.
Yeah.
It's you have to win trophies as Liverpool manager, right? Even when they went 30 years without winning a league or whatever it was, they were still picking up cups like it was easy.
Yeah, that's true. Well, interestingly, Jim, your friend of mine, Jose Mourinho, was asked who would win the title this year in England. He said 51% Manchester City, 49% Liverpool. When asked if Arsenal had a chance, he went, nah.
See, that rocks my confidence more than anything Arsenal could do on the pitch. Lovely little Brexit reference in there as well, very sly.
Oh, yes, it was. Well, 52-48, but yeah, I know what you mean. There we are, everybody. So don't forget that Ramble Reacts. Luke and I will be bringing you after Liverpool versus West Ham tonight. So more chat on those two in your ears tomorrow morning. Thank you very much for listening to the Football Ramble, part of the Acast Creator Network. Patreon subscribers, don't go anywhere. Keep listening for Ramble Uncut. And of course, if you're not a Patreon subscriber, sign up to get Ramble Uncut every single Wednesday. Head over to patreon.com/football ramble. Also, Follow us on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at Football Ramble. And don't forget to subscribe on your podcast app. Thank you, Andy Brassel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim Campbell.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you for Ramble React.
Thanks for watching a clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a video. And if you're feeling extra generous, why don't you like this video? Why don't you like this video?